Okay, hey, welcome to the Gun Cranks. I can't keep a straight face because we've got a certain producer down there that's doing all kinds of heinous things with his mouth and all that. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. I've completely lost my composure. Joining me today is Special Projects editor Roy Huntington and a special guest. She's been on with us before. It's Ashley McGee, our digital content manager here for American Handgunner and Guns Magazine. And behind the scenes is American Handgunner editor Tom McHale, filling in today for our producer. And he just did some very unseemly things with his hands, giving me gestures. So anyway, this is going to be a tough episode. Today, we're going to talk about hunting stories. It's getting to be that time. I know in our state, the bow season just started for deer, so folks are taking off into the woods. I haven't been out yet. That's why we invited Ashley on. She's an avid hunter. She's probably done a lot better than both Roy and I put together. So we thought it might be fun to talk about some great hunting stories. And when we were kicking this around before we got started, we were all kind of talking about our stories. And there's so many you can't remember them, but probably one of the most memorable for me was the attack of the squirrels. I've had that happen a couple of times where I've been in a tree stand and they've decided to come on board and check me out. But probably the best one had to be when I was sitting with my back against a tree in a ground blind and I heard a little kind of noise and I thought it was a bird or something. I look up and there was a squirrel about this far from my face. He screamed, I screamed, he ran up a tree, I ran up another tree. It was pretty frightening. And Roy pointed out, I've already admitted I was scared of snakes. Yes, I'm scared of squirrels too. No, it was just the fact that, I didn't expect a squirrel that close. So he's nuts. I'm nuts. That's one of my favorite hunting stories.
There's some pretty big squirrels out there. So, you probably should
this thing was the size of a house cat.
A little bit
easily.
Afraid of them. But I don't know. Well, you got me thinking, though, about this stories about hunting stories and stuff. And I have one that showed that I'm a sissy. And we were in Botswana. We were hunting in Botswana Plains game, Susie, my wife, and I. And I was just the cameraman, or as she said, you're just along for eye candy. Sorry, I had to work that in there. But Susie was doing the hunting, and we were out in this plain, and there was this huge herd of springbok. So they're like, I don't know, like impala kind of. And something spooked them, and we were well hidden, and for some reason, they all decided to run toward us. I mean, hundreds of them. And there was a huge cloud of dust, and I was a little concerned, because we were hidden, but we weren't really protected. We were just in the brush. And so they were coming right at us. And the professional hunter was with us. And I said, should we, move? And he said, oh, no, it's okay. Right. So it's like, okay. So I waited and waited. And then sure enough, you hear the thunder of their little hooves coming, and I'm thinking, this is American dies in Botswana while hunting, and so more and more and dustier, and the PH isn't the least bit concerned. Of course, Susie wants to know, can she shoot one, and so sure enough, I was kind of bracing myself, and at the last minute, they kind of split in a V, and they went right around us, just like in the movies or something. And then back around, and as they passed us, I was looking, and there were all these wide springbok eyes looking at us as they went by. And so I don't know if that was a near-death experience or not, but I have to say it certainly qualifies as an interesting hunting experience.
Well, wasn't it Robert Ruark? Wow, I can't talk today. Who turned to his client and said, "They're coming for us." Was that the situation
for us? That day, absolutely.
Well, Ashley, guys do a lot of stupid things in the name of love. Have you?
Well, and I was telling the guys before this call that my story doesn't necessarily have to do with animals, although we were hunting for bear in Virginia, so, kind of like Botswana. And my now husband, we were early on in dating and visiting his family. I'm from South Carolina, so, I'm used to hunting whitetail and turkey and never been bear hunting before. And he asked me, hey, do you want to go take a walk up the mountain, see if we see anything? We'll just bring the gun just in case. We're on private land, so we're good there, even though I didn't have the in-state license or whatever. And, there's, I don't know, maybe a foot of snow on the ground, and I'm looking and I'm like, told this guy that I hunt, so, I can't say no, but wasn't really planning to hunt today. And I'm in blue jeans. I'm in Ugg boots for, those of you who don't know what those are. They're just little suede boots that are not waterproof. They have some fuzzy lining in them. They're basically, glorified house slippers. We start walking up this mountain and we sit down for, on this little tree that's laid over for a few minutes and freezing my butt off. Never do see a bear. We're out there far longer than I thought. By the time we go to climb down the mountain, my feet are completely soaked. Pretty sure I'm like borderline, hypothermic at this point. And I'm so cold that my legs would not even, I couldn't even walk down the mountain. So I made a real impression, to say the least.
But you were game, and that's what was important.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we've all learned the hard way that Levi's are not cold weather clothing.
No.
Well, now that you guys have humiliated me, Botswana, bear hunting in the mountains, and I had a squirrel story, I was just thinking of another one. Roy, how hard is it to get chapstick out of the magazine of your gun?
Well, I'm sure somebody has a YouTube video on that.
We were deer hunting in an area that there was a lot of ravines, and I was walking out to my stand, and I don't know how it happened, but I was carrying an 870 because at that point in our state you could only use shotgun with buckshot or rifled slug. So I normally used a rifled slug. I kind of crested this little draw on this logging road I was on, and I looked down in the bottom, and there is a monster buck down there, and he's just kind of hanging out. And one of those where you get the shakes. And at that very moment I realized I had not loaded my gun, because I'd started out, I was a little late that morning, and you're not allowed to load until sunrise, legal shooting time, so I hadn't. So the sun had come up and I was almost to my stand, but I realized I don't have a gun loaded. So that's problem one. Second of all, charging the 870 is going to make a hell of a lot of noise, but under the theory of one problem at a time, I tried to load my gun. So I had my shells in my right front pocket. So I'm trying to load, and I drop the first shell. So I reach in my pocket and kind of feel around, and I'm trying to, there's not even a tree that I could get behind without drawing attention. So I'm just trying to move slow and quiet, but my hand is shaking like I've got terrible palsy. And I get in my second, what I think is the shell, and I go to ram it in the bottom loading port, and I realize it's a chapstick. I believe it was wintergreen, but it didn't go in, fortunately, because all I could think was, that had really been something to rack the action, and then chapstick goes all over the place. But
smell good.
Yeah, exactly.
The astounding thing to me is that he's doing this on national TV, basically. He's telling us this.
Well,
I was going to say, you win. I can't even follow that up. I've got nothing else after that.
I'm not the only person who stood there in the face of game trying to load a gun, and shells and bullets are flying every which way and backwards, and you load your pocket knife into the magazine. I am not the only one who's done that.
Proof that there are plenty of people braver than I am. I was on a hunt in Zimbabwe with Ruger a million years ago, and we were in the jungle, and so there were lions and elephants and stuff like that. And I had a 308 Ruger scout rifle. It was an early scout rifle that they did, which wasn't a lot of gun to be in the middle of that kind of stuff. And the professional hunter had side-by-side 500 Krieghoff, so we always stayed really close to him through all this. And so I looked down and I saw lion tracks were on the same trail that we were going in. I said, does this mean, is there a lion nearby, or how old is that? And he said, yeah, he's close. He's probably been following us around. And I said, well, what do you do if a lion comes out and tries to get us? And I said, do you run? And he said, no, you can't run. And I said, what do you mean? You watch me run, I'll run. He said, no, they'll get you. And I said, well, what do you do? And he said, and actually this makes really good sense, except I don't know that I would have had the guts to do it, was he said, when they run at you, you drop to one knee and then you shoot them that way because you're shooting directly at them. But if you shoot at them when you're standing, the angle's constantly changing, right? And it made perfectly logical sense. But all I could think of is, I'm going to believe it if it happens. the day that I kneel down in front of a charging lion and coolly thumb off the safety, you know?
So here's Brent, running from a squirrel, and you've got a lion stalking you.
Well, because it was...
I tried to go to one knee.
I kept thinking, well, I'll go hide behind a tree or something. And he said, no, you can't run. You can't hide. They'll get you. It's like...
Well, Roy, I do know this. This is an important tip that everybody should remember if you're hunting dangerous game. I learned this. I do a lot of stuff out in the woods where there's bear. And I've never really had a close call with a bear, but a guide told me this one time. You don't have to outrun the bear or the lion or the elephant or whatever. You just have to outrun your companions, or at least get close enough you can kneecap them. Then you're fine.
That is kind of true.
Well, I was going to say, is there any moment, I've not hunted lion or buffalo or elephant for that matter, so I can't really say that I've had too many hairy experiences that would make a great book, but the first time I was ever hunting wild boar, and we were in a thicket, and dogs, we were down in Tennessee, dogs were chasing it, and the guide told me he could tell they were coming, and they were coming up a draw, and he goes, they're coming to us. And I said, okay, what are you doing? He goes, get ready to shoot, as he's going behind me. And I thought, that's one of those moments in life you got to think about things is, the guy brought you here and just got behind you and basically said good luck.
Shot.
Yeah. I know that, but
those things sound like a freight train coming through the woods.
Of all things, I finally steeled my nerve, and I'm getting ready. I'm gonna, have a hairy-chested adventure, and the damn thing went straight up the side of a ravine, and even the dogs are like, nah, we're not going to do that. So my big moment, stopping the charge and saving all our lives, it went up the side of a ravine.
That's funny. Can I end this with a short shot show story? That's hard to say, a short shot show story. There we go.
Well, the way my mouth has been working, I shouldn't say that because it would have come out with the beep. So go ahead, Roy.
It's early 90s. I'm at the SHOT Show. It was really long before they had video running at every single booth, And so there were a lot of these backlit, almost looked like transparencies. And so there'd be pictures of people posing with guns and doing different things. And I was strolling down the aisle, and I came to a corner, and there was one of these real tall plastic, things. And there was a picture of a guy standing in a tree stand, and he's at full draw with a compound bow, right? He's down at the ground, like you can tell. And it was some arrow manufacturer or something like that. But I happened to notice as I walked by, there's this big good old boy there, and he literally had overalls on and a hat, and he had the give it here free bags. Remember that everybody used to always collect everything that they could find at the SHOT Show. And so he had that, and he was just really staring hard at this picture. And so I kind of stopped next to him, and I looked real hard at the picture. I thought, am I missing something here? And so I was watching, and he's just watching, not moving anything, just watching. And I finally said, excuse me, but what are you watching for? And I swear to you, he said, I'm waiting for him to take the shot. And I said, okay, then I'm going to go ahead and go. And, I hope this worked out for you. But I hate to cast aspersions at our fellow outdoorsmen, but, some people were sad.
And that man today is the President of the United States. Sorry.
All right. That's all. I got nothing else.
Set him up, knock him down.
Yeah.
Well, folks, it is time to end this travesty of hunting stories. Make sure, if you're watching us on YouTube, that you leave a comment, because we're all discovering that comments are the currency of the realm. So that's what will make us turn into these wild million subscriber influencers. So please leave us a comment down there. Let us know what you think. Tell us one of your favorite hunting stories. And as always, please check out gunsmagazine.com, americanhandgunner.com, americancop.com, and the Guns Magazine podcast on your favorite YouTube. Yeah. I'm telling you, today is not the day to be recording. Your favorite podcast directory is what I'm trying to say. Well, anyway, on behalf of Roy Huntington and Ashley McGee, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat with a moderately functional mouth. We'll see you next episode.